All right, let's dive into something that's a really quiet and often a really misunderstood experience. Why some of the people who feel things the most deeply also tend to have the smallest circles of friends.
You know that feeling, right? You're looking at your phone, scrolling through your contacts, and nothing. The thought of actually starting a conversation just feels heavy. It's not really sadness, and it's not exactly loneliness either. It's more of this weird neutral space where connection just feels like it costs way more energy than you have to give.
And that feeling creates this real conflict inside. See, society has a story it tells us. A small friend group means you must be lacking something. Maybe you're not warm enough or you don't have the right social skills. But your reality, it's the complete opposite. The problem isn't that you don't get people. It's that you get them too much. You pick up on every little shift in tone, every unspoken thing hanging in the air. And honestly, it's exhausting.
So this brings up some pretty big questions, doesn't it? Why can a simple chat feel so incredibly draining? Why is it that sometimes being in a crowd of people can make you feel more alone than actually being by yourself? If you've ever felt this, you know it's not about disliking people. It's about what being around them demands from you.
Okay, so let's get into the why behind all of this, because this isn't some personal flaw you need to fix. This is about something much more fundamental. It's about how you are literally wired to process the world and all the people in it.
And it really comes down to this idea of immersive connection. What that means is you don't just see or observe an emotion in someone else, you actually absorb it. It becomes part of your own internal experience. And because of that, pretty much every single social interaction, no matter how small, has a real energetic cost.
Think of it like this. Most people kind of move through the world and they just brush up against other people's emotions. They feel it for a second and then they keep moving. But for you, it's totally different. You're not brushing past them, you're absorbing them. And those feelings, they stick around. They linger inside you long after the person has walked away.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. When you pull away from people, it's not always because you're scared. A lot of the time, it's about foresight. You've just learned from experience how easily closeness can morph into expectation and how that can start to feel like an obligation. And for you, that sense of obligation doesn't feel like love or friendship. It just feels heavy, like a weight.
So this all leads to this massive misunderstanding, right? There's this huge gap between how people see you from the outside and how things actually feel on the inside. Let's break that down. People might look at how selective you are with your time and your energy, and they'll call it avoidance. They assume you must be afraid of something, but it's not avoidance at all. It's precision. It's a very conscious choice that's driven by a deep, deep awareness of what a connection is actually going to cost you. And here is the core of the disconnect. From the outside, yeah, you might look lonely. You might seem closed off. But from your perspective, the feeling is completely different. You don't feel lonely, you feel protected. You're not being closed off, you're being discerning. You're not just looking for any company, you're looking for genuine alignment.
And here's the thing that so many people miss. Your need for time alone, it doesn't come from a place of emptiness. It comes from a place of abundance. Your inner world is already so full, so buzzing with thoughts and feelings and all the emotions you've absorbed, that having a smaller circle, well, it's not just a preference, it's a survival adjustment.
So, this unique internal wiring, it results in some very specific and often pretty uncommon traits. Let's take a look at what they are and how they shape your way of being in the world.
First off, for you, connection isn't really built on just doing things together. You bond through resonance. It's about a shared emotional reality, a shared understanding, a certain depth. You're not looking for someone to kill time with. You're looking for someone who gets your inner world.
Second, you have this rare comfort just being inside your own head. You don't need constant outside noise or feedback to feel like you exist. You've learned how to process things on your own. And that self-containment, it's like a quiet superpower. You've also got this kind of radar for when a relationship is transactional. You can just feel when someone's presence is conditional, when it depends on what you can do for them. And because those relationships are so draining, you usually just quietly step back before any resentment can even start to build.
And this is a big one. You really understand that just being near someone doesn't mean you're connected to them. I mean, you've probably felt completely and totally misunderstood in a room full of people. That's why you don't chase after proximity. You wait for real, genuine alignment.
And finally, your sense of self-worth just isn't tied to the number of likes you get or how many people know who you are.
Instead, you measure your worth by how whole, how intact you feel after you interact with someone. If being friends with somebody requires you to shrink yourself or water yourself down, the cost is just too high.
So when you start to put all of these pieces together, the picture that emerges, it's not one of weakness. It's not social failure. It's a picture of a very different and actually very profound kind of strength. It's time to reframe this whole thing. Here's the truth of it. It's a little unsettling, but it's also incredibly liberating. It's the choice you've probably been making all along, maybe without even realizing it. To have that big, sprawling social circle, you'd have to betray who you are. You'd have to either turn down the volume on your feelings or just stop listening to your own intuition. The other option, you accept a smaller circle that lets you stay true to yourself.
And this, right here, is the ultimate reframe. What the world might look at and call solitude or isolation is actually a powerful form of restraint. It's a conscious choice, a choice to protect your energy, to honor your own depth, and to flat out refuse to abandon yourself just to fit in. And that is an incredible, rare kind of strength.
So let's end by flipping the question. Instead of asking, why do I have so few friends? Ask yourself this, what part of myself would I have to lose to have more? And when you answer that, really honestly, you might just find that the price is one you're no longer willing to pay.